Thomas, wake up. It's our 9-year anniversary. Intro. The lighting is a little too good.
Sometimes when the light source is too bright, my forehead reflects it.
We're gonna do something a little different.
We're gonna give 9 tips that help our personal relationship that maybe you can take into yours.
Here comes the vlog. I've been with that guy since July 28th, 2015. If you did the math, we started dating very young. Not only did we have to build a relationship, we also had to navigate puberty and early adulthood together. We've had our fair shares of ups and downs.
And we even broke up for some time.
Wait, Thomas, we don't talk about that.
Oh, sorry.
Anyways, even though we're not experts or certified dating coaches, we're gonna give you 9 tips of how we personally maintain a strong and healthy relationship. So let me formally introduce to you all my now fiance, Thomas, who will be joining me on voiceover. Say hi, Thomas.
Hello.
Tip number 1, establish the relationship's intention at the very start. And I think you should be honest with yourself first. Do you actually like the person you're with, or do you like the idea of them? A lot of times we may project certain qualities onto a person and view them through rose-tinted glasses because of past trauma or just the desperation to be in a relationship. So don't rush into things without being honest with yourself first, or else you could risk setting the relationship up for failure.
That's why it's important to establish this early on and be completely honest with yourselves. What do you want out of this relationship? Is it just a fling, something casual, or something more long-term? This also means determining what the timeline would be like. If you want to look towards marriage, ask yourselves why and when. For us, we started dating early in high school and thought that we would break up well before entering college. Little did we know, we would stay together for years on end, and that's only because we were open, honest, and continued to communicate about what we wanted out of the relationship all this time.
It's crucial to align your partner with baseline stuff like morals, religion, thoughts on having children, but also more complex topics like relationship with your friends and family, how you resolve conflicts in a relationship, how you show and receive love, for example, through the various love languages.
And remember that these topics have intersections. For example, what if your family wants you to have children, but neither of you do? Or what if they're really religious and want you to baptize your children, but neither of you practice any kind of religion? These are the kind of conversations that you two need to have before looking towards long-term success in a relationship.
Tip number 2, if you're already in a relationship, take the opportunity to ask those random, impulsive questions, no matter how ridiculous or silly they may be. For example, you can ask them, where do they prefer to cut their toenails? If you were a worm, would they still love you? Sometimes it's their reaction that tells you more about the person more than the answer itself. If they get angry, offended, or uncomfortable, that may not be a deal breaker, but it gives you insight of what their conversational comfort zone is.
These arbitrary questions can also open doors for future uncomfortable conversations. For example, if my parents became disabled, would they go to a nursing home, or would they live with us? If our kids came out as LGBTQ, would you be okay with that? And what would you do if I got a terminal illness?
I know this is a lot, and you don't have to answer all these questions at once. But over a course of a relationship, there are an infinite amount of questions to ask. Even to this day, we're still discovering more and more about each other.
Yeah, Cece never holds back, especially when questions pop into her mind. And neither should you, especially if you're choosing a life partner.
Tip number 3, be okay with being alone. Ironically, if you want a healthy relationship, you need to find joy as individuals. This means learning how to be independent and not put your happiness in the hands of someone else. At the end of the day, even if you're in a long-term relationship, you are the only person you'll be with for the rest of your life.
It's okay to come into a relationship knowing you're always going to be a work in progress. But your partner shouldn't be the only person that determines your self-worth or the only person to validate your actions. That should come from within.
Tip number 4, supporting your partner's life outside of your relationship. You and your partner have ambitions, passions, hobbies, and careers that may or may not be shared. Even if you don't share the same level of appreciation, supporting your partner and encouraging them to pursue whatever brings them joy will in turn support the health of the relationship overall. Of course, as long as they're not hurting anyone around them or themselves. For example, when I told Thomas I was going to do pole dancing, he was extremely supportive because he understands that it will boost my confidence and help me stay fit. When I told him that I wanted to buy a stage pole, he was supportive because he read through all the pros and cons list that I made for myself and that this was going to be the right decision for me. When I told him that I wanted to host free outdoor pole events for people in my community, there was no hesitation in helping me with each event. I really think that if it wasn't for his support and encouraging of my pole journey, I wouldn't have made the friends I have today. I wouldn't have created a pole competition routine based off my struggles with mental health, and I wouldn't have been able to love my body as much as I love it today.
And if you think your partner is lacking something outside of your relationship, a gentle nudge in the right direction may not only be beneficial, but it could also change the course of your relationship for the better. For example, after college and during the pandemic, I really didn't know what to do with myself. I had Cece, my dog, work, and some video games, but that's it. Cece had been planting seeds in my head to start a new hobby for about 4 years, but I was always really resistant to it because I thought I wasn't creative enough to have a hobby. One day after work, Cece asked if I could pick up any creative hobby, what would I do? I hesitantly said something related to music or DJing, and that same day, she convinced me to go to Guitar Center and pick up my first pair of decks. I knew Cece wasn't personally into EDM or music like I was, but I felt more comfortable putting myself out there because of her support. In turn, it was probably the best decision that I ever made, and it opened up my life to a realm of creativity that I didn't know was possible.
Tip number 5, start a hobby so you can be a more well-rounded person. I know we touched on this a little bit in the last tip, but we really think it's important to find something outside of your 9 to 5 or your relationship. Hobbies require time and dedication, which can teach patience and perseverance. Being exposed to tough circumstances can indirectly benefit you when entering difficult situations with your partner. And a lot of hobbies foster creativity, and it can directly translate into a more imaginative and thoughtful interactions with your partner. If it wasn't for pole and my interest in aerials, I don't think we would be trapezing during our anniversary. Hobbies can also introduce you to social circles, broaden your support network, and enrich your social life. So if you're struggling finding new friends, especially after college or having children, find a hobby, and I'm 98% sure there's a community group waiting to welcome you.
Hobbies are also a great way to find balance within your life. Spending time apart and doing things away from each other reduce the risk of codependency in a relationship. It also helps to improve your mood, doing something that you love or that challenges you creatively every single day.
Tip number 6. If you have a close and healthy relationship with your friends and family, get their approval on your partner. Of course, if you don't have a healthy and supportive circle around you, this tip probably won't apply to you. And I know it's pretty controversial since there's a social norm that you shouldn't care about what anyone thinks about your relationship. But if one of your top values are friends and family, then you should listen to their opinions about your partner. In our case, I really cared about what my friends and family thought of Thomas, because I know that their intentions are never to sabotage my happiness, but to confirm if Thomas aligns with our shared values and standards. Valuing their feedback and observation gives us the opportunity to make the most informed decision. But once you get their approval, it kind of gives you the green light to confidently trust their character and intentions.
And once that initial approval was out of the way, interactions with Cece's side of the family became a lot easier. I was a lot more willing to go to family events, gatherings, and plan for the future with each other. There's also an enhanced sense of emotional well-being, knowing that the people that are important to your partner value you and see you as worthy of being in their family. And lastly, you also get an extended amount of support during challenging times. When Cece and I have arguments or conflicts, she has trusted people that she can turn to, and I have trusted people that I can turn to.
They had someone in every room doing the sound that go. You're really good at that. Yeah, imagine paying them for speaking.
Tip number 7, build well-rounded friendships. These people should be emotionally intelligent to know when to give you advice or to be a shoulder to cry on. They can also acknowledge that they're probably only listening to one side of the story, so they can't just jump into conclusions about your relationship or about all your struggles. And they also can point out your flaws and acknowledge when you're in the wrong without having to hurt your feelings.
You need to be really careful with who you surround yourself with and who you vent to about your partner. Coworkers and near strangers aren't the best to judge your relationship or your character.
Maybe they'll leave if they see me recording. And it worked.
If you're seeking advice or validation from these people, then you might need to reevaluate your relationship to see if you actually like this person. At the end of the day, it all comes down to how you talk about your partner. You shouldn't be berating, talking crap, or talking trash about the person that you care about.
Tip number 8. Take time to process your thoughts and feelings so you don't go to bed angry. In the beginning of our relationship, I personally struggled with this because I love to just rush into finding a resolution so I can just not go to bed angry. But after a few years of dating, I learned that it's probably not the best way to resolve anything, and Thomas takes a little bit longer to process his emotions, and I kept rushing him to do something he didn't want to do. I even learned myself that now it takes me a few hours to process my emotions so I can properly translate what's going on in my head to Thomas so that he can understand my perspective to its entirety.
Now, this doesn't mean going hours or days on end without talking to each other. Sweeping things under the rug doesn't help anyone and only builds the resentment and frustration between you two. Avoiding arguments overall can cause emotional distance and prevents you from addressing and expressing the true feelings at heart. Arguments aren't always a bad thing either. They provide opportunities to address problems, learn from each other, and grow in empathy as a couple.
No, I'm flaking. I'm using this to catch all my flakes.
It's okay. They're gonna wash it, I hope.
Yeah, there's a lot of CC here.
We used to record stuff on camcorders, like the big bulky things. Now looking back at those, that's like so foreign. Do you think one day our kids or grandkids are gonna look at like our iPhones and be like, yo, that's so like retro or something?
They're gonna be like, oh, why didn't they put a filter on their videos? I can see all their wrinkles.
Why didn't they download new skin?
They told me to download new skin. I'll be like, I know, I've been wanting to.
Say bye.
Bye.
Tip number 9. Finally, dedicate time for a weekly check-in. We've been personally doing weekly check-ins since January 2023. And since then, it's been a huge game changer of how we communicate in our relationship. I truly think that this is what prevents 99% of our arguments because it allows us to address small conflicts before they escalate into something a lot bigger. It also gives us time to distribute responsibilities fairly and manage household and financial tasks. Since we're completely open with our finances, it gave us a clearer understanding of our financial goals, debt repayment plan, and being consistent with just tracking our spending habits. If it wasn't for these meetings, I don't think that I would be able to pay off $40,000 of my private student loans in 1 year.
These scheduled and dedicated weekly meetings also provide an opportunity for us to set and review personal and shared goals, keeping us aligned every step of the way. It also gives us a chance to acknowledge and celebrate each other's achievements and milestones while reinforcing the changes that we want to improve in our lives. I spend so much of my time in corporate meetings, stand-ups, and updating tickets on Jira. It only makes sense that I do the same in something that I value like my relationship. Keeping in sync with our calendars makes sure that we respect each other's time and continually align on each other's ambitions.
Welcome back. I didn't just burp. You did. If it didn't help, I hope it entertained you a little bit. It's been a really long 9 years.
I think we learned a lot, and I think you can tell too that we stress a lot on like not just growing outside of your relationship as like an individual, but like building a life outside of your relationship, which is ironic because like it's about our anniversary and our relationship and all that stuff. We say relationship like a million times.
Bye everyone. Thank you for watching and subscribe.